back to Fort Miller. I apologize. Frederick Braham, BAUM, accompanied Burgoyne's troops and was the first wave of troops to reach Fort Miller, um, and is among the first to arrive. The rebels had abandoned the area 4 days prior to the arrival. Their camp was still evident. On August 10th is the day of rest, but for Braham, he met Rysdale and left him in the company of some of the officers. Paul McCarty writes, Fort Edward Town historian, the earliest canal through this area was a bypass around the dam and rapids at the mill site. This was replaced by the Champagne Canal, which opened in 1823 and existed from Thompson to Lake Champlain. Construction of the present barge bill began in 1905, and traffic through 1913. The location section starts at Fort Miller Lock 8 and returns traffic to the river above the Crocker's Reef, Crocker reefs. Moving on. And Raymond C. Huntington, Houghton, he describes Fort Miller too in 1777 as a gathering place for about 2,500 retreating Americans gathered here for about a week after a long, arduous march, which began on July 5th. Then again in August of 1777, the gathering place, Burgoyne arrived with British forces numbering 8,000, somewhere near 8,000. He found no resistance since the Americans had evacuated the area shortly after their arrival. Sorry. Burgoyne launched an expedition for about 1,000 troops shortly thereafter to the east toward Bennington to obtain horses and supplies. Most of the troops that Burgoyne sent would not return as the Americans won a decisive victory at Bennington and imprisoned those who surrendered. And Willis T. Hanson's work, we see names of soldiers that were actually present during the American Revolution, not only at Fort Edward, but also here at Fort Miller. And Nicholas Brayhadet, I'll spell that, Barhydt. He was born on November 12th, 1744, died April 15th, 1827. On February 10th, 1776, he was elected as second lieutenant in Captain Abraham Orthut's company, Oothouth company, 2nd Albany County Militia. He was spoken of as an active, zealous, valuable officer, always ready when the occasion offered itself to fight. In the fall of 1776, he took a part of the expedition to Fort Edward, Fort Anne, and Skenesborough. In the summer of 1777, he was at the Northern Army at Van Strick Island, Schaick Island, Van Strick, Bemis Heights, and Saratoga. Fort Edward closely associated once again to Fort Miller. Isaac Christensen, Christiannse, was born in Schenectady, January 1st, 1755, and lived there all of his life. In the summer of 1775, he enlisted under Captain John Mynderse, Mynderse company, 2nd Albany County Militia again, and served as a Minuteman until the spring of 1777, when the company was disbanded and its members joined to the regular militia under Abraham Wimple. In January of 1776, he took part of the expedition to Johnstown, and during the summer was employed at Ticonderoga, nearby places erecting storehouses and aiding building boats for the Army. During the summer and the fall of 1777, he was stationed at Fort Miller, Fort Anne, and then later on in Fort Edward. William Corll, Corl, was born in 1760, died March 19th, 1848, was buried in Vale Cemetery. In the spring of 1776, he marched to Helensburgh under Captain John B. Vroman. In the fall of the same year, he enrolled in the company of Captain Jess Van Slick, 2nd Albany County Militia. Moving on, Bartholomew Schermerhorn. That should sound very, very familiar, especially to this area, Schermerhorn Apartments. So, baptized in Schenectady, Bartholomew Sherman, on August 24th, 1757. He lived in Rotterdam and died July 16th, 1845. In the fall of 1775, he was enrolled under Captain Abraham Orthot, 2nd Albany Militia. In the spring of 1776, he went to Fort Dayton, and in the fall of the same year, he was with the regiment at Fort Edward under Captain Van Slick, to Fort Anne and Gainsborough as a guard for boats between the post. He later on returned to Fort Edward, and in the spring of 1777, under Captain John Van Slick, he went with the troops of Colonel Regulars Jessup's Colonel Regular Warner of Colonel Warner to Jessup's Patton in pursuit of Tories. He was with the army at Bemis Heights. Davis Tawes was born in Scotland, December 1748, and lived at Princetown on July 1st, 1776. He enlisted for 6 months in the company of Captain Henry Marcellis, Marselis, 1st New York Line, and served until December, performing duties at Gainsborough, Fort George, and Fort Anne. In 1777, he was enrolled under Captain John Murdissey, 2nd Albany County Militia. He was enrolled in Mercy's 2nd County Militia and later served under Captain James Watson. And in the fall, he was at Fort Miller and Fort Anne. So there's documented proof of several soldiers being here at Fort Anne, or being here at Fort Miller during at least the Revolutionary War time period. And I would have to assume during the French and Indian War time period, since the fort was built during the French and Indian War. Much like Fort Gage, which we just covered a few days ago. So once again, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for subscribing to my channel. I want to thank you for supporting our work at Adirondack Native Historic Preservation on not only documenting history, but saving history. That's why we're here. We want to save history. We want to do it any way possible. So our history is not only here for us to tell, but here for our kids and our grandkids, and will live on for centuries. Much like the Founding Fathers did some 200 years ago when they signed the Declaration of Independence. They knew what they were doing, and part of what they were doing was to hold on to the ideologies of freedom, independence, away from a tyrannical oppression of a government. And that's why they formed their own government, and which we see today in 2022. Once again, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your patience. And hopefully we can get a couple more out next week. And once again, take care of your families. Love your families. And just know that Adirondack Native Historic Preservation is here so you know your history. Thank you. Have a good day. And we'll see you next time.